Shalom, brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the channel. I've had a few comments recently on videos with regards to the 3 days of darkness, where people are saying they don't believe in it, and it's a Catholic doctrine, and that it's not something found in the Bible, and that Messiah never talked about it, and why should they believe in it? And these things seem to be a common theme that's been happening quite a lot. Now, I know many of the believers do believe in it and understand it, and the Most High has given them discernment to understand the things that are going to take place. But there are many people, some which may be mockers and scoffers, who don't believe in it and are saying that they reject the teaching. And that's fine because everybody has free will to believe in what they want to believe in. And only time will tell as to who is correct and who isn't. And if it was down to me alone, then I would just leave it as it is and say, well, I've done many teachings on it. And if you don't get it, it's up to you. That's between you and the Most High. And if you don't want to believe in it and if you want to reject it, then on the day when it happens, you will be the one found wanted. But I am not the Most High, and the Most High is merciful. He's far more merciful than I am, and he's far more patient than I am. And so the Most High has led me to do this very short teaching with regards to a sign that was given to the people of that day in Messiah's day, the sign of the prophet Jonah or Yonah. And that sign was the only sign that was given to those people when they asked for a sign to prove that Messiah is who he said he was. And in this modern day, we have the exact same sign in the form of the 3 days of darkness that is given to this generation, which we're going to see in a moment. It's given to this generation to know that the end time events are upon us. And Messiah is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He does the same things he did back then as to what he does now. There is no new thing under the sun. So we're going to see the same pattern and we're going to see the same theme, this same parallel of the generation that he was talking about at that time as to how it links to the generation he's talking to in this time. Same generations, same outcomes, same signs, same wonders. Everything is the same. We only have to look in the scripture and we will see it. So, because of this, the Most High has led me to do this very short teaching on the sign of Jonah and the modern day sign of Jonah, which is the 3 days of darkness. So, I'm not going to spend too long on this because this is something, as I say, that the Most High has led me to do to it's not to convince anybody, but it's to add further evidence to show you that this thing is coming upon us. And so I'm going to spend a bit of time talking to you and showing you some things in scripture with regards to the 3 days of darkness. Now, in John chapter 15, verse 20, Messiah said that there is no servant that is greater than his master. And if he has been persecuted, if they have persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they have kept his saying, they will keep yours also. And Messiah is very deliberate here, telling us that there is no servant that can be greater than his master. The same way Messiah's words were rejected will be the same way that people of this day's words who he has sent will be rejected. And those people that listen to Messiah in his day, we will also have people in this day that will listen to us, those who are teaching and prophesying about these events that are going to take place. So you see, Messiah is very deliberate whilst he is telling his believers that the treatment he received is going to be the same treatment that many people receive who come in his name. His true people, when they come in his name, teaching his words, people will reject them, just like how people rejected him. So this is no surprise. But as I said, the Most High is merciful and he's patient and he's slow to anger. And because he is all those things, he is still sending out more teachings and more warnings for you to understand the signs of the times. Now, this is what Messiah said about that generation at that time when he walked this earth. In Matthew chapter 16 and verse 4, he said, "A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and he departed." Now, I want you to pay very close attention to the words he used. He said, "A wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. Now, he was talking to the people of that day because those were the people that were around him. If you read the chapter in its context, you will see that some of the scribes and the Pharisees and all these people were demanding for various signs, and they wanted to see a sign to prove that he was Messiah. And he called them a wicked and adulterous generation. Now, in the day we live in now, you only have to look around at the generation. Would you not say that it is a wicked and adulterous generation, just like that generation back then? If not, arguably, it could be worse. So, therefore, if he said that a wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given except for the prophet Jonah, then surely the same sign will be given for us today because we have the same characteristics of a generation, which is wicked and adulterous. So he's going to give us the same sign he gave back then to prove who he was. He's given us the same sign today in the end times to prove who he is and that he is on his way back. And so we only need to look at the scriptures to have the understanding of this sign because he said it's the only sign that will be given. Now, when Yahushua walked the earth, there was no New Testament. They had the scriptures from the Torah, the scriptures from the Tanakh. Those were the writings that they used. And so, because they had no New Testament, they were only going on the prophecies of old. They don't have the benefit we have today, where we have the prophecies of the things that happened in the New Testament, in the Gospels, and so on and so forth. And to those who don't believe in those things, I can't help you because it takes Amunah to believe in the writings of the Most High. It takes Amunah to believe in the things that the Most High is doing and the fact that his word is infallible. So if you can't believe in the New Testament, then I can't help you. And you need to just seek Yah, that he has mercy and opens up your eyes. But without the New Testament, you have no Messiah. And if you have no Messiah, you have no salvation. And the rest does not need to be said. So during that time, they didn't have the New Testament. They only had the Tanakh, they only had the Torah. And because these were the only things they had, there were many prophecies and writings within those things that talked about the coming Mashiach. You can see Psalm 16, Psalm 22, Isaiah chapter 7, chapter 9, and chapter 53, just to name a few. But none of these prophecies, none of these um, foretelling of the Messiah to come, the Mashiach to come, none of these things directly verbatim foretold that he would be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. Now, many of the prophecies referred to him coming into this world as a lamb brought to its shearers when you read in Isaiah chapter 53, and showing that he would be made in his grave, would be made on this earth, showing that he would die. But they did not specifically talk about being in the grave or being dead for 3 days and 3 nights. And so when Messiah came and talked about these things, it was understandable for some of that generation to not understand those prophecies because they were things they hadn't heard before. Now, the parallel is in this day, many people are saying, I don't see the 3 days of darkness in the Bible. So, therefore, it can't be a doctrine that's true. And Messiah never spoke about it. So, therefore, it can't be a doctrine that's true. But Messiah spoke in parables very often. And he spoke in parables because he was concealing and hiding things from those who they were not for. And he was revealing and showing his disciples and those around them that were for those prophecies, that those prophecies were for. He was opening them up. And that's why he spoke in parables. So it's not everything that Messiah said openly, because there were some people it wasn't for. But in this day and age, do you think he's going to do something different and say everything openly? No, the same thing applies. There are some people that these prophecies are not for because they're none of his. And there are many that these prophecies are for. So he will speak in parables, but he will give you the understanding via the Ruach HaKodesh. The Most High will reveal things so that you can understand them. And so, in all these old prophecies, Messiah was never mentioned as being in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. The Most High hid those things. They were there in terms of from an indirect perspective, like the sign of Jonah, like some of the things that happened with the children of Yasharal and Moshe, but they were not revealed in terms of a direct prophecy that for 3 days and for 3 nights the coming Mashiach would be in the grave. And so, because of these things, when Messiah came, at first he only spoke figuratively about this revelation. You find this in Yochanan chapter 2 or John chapter 2, verse 19, where he says, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." Now, those he was talking to were the Pharisees and scribes in the temple when he went into the temple and drove out all those money changers. And they said to him, "What sign will you show us?" And he said, "Destroy this temple, in 3 days I'll raise it up." And obviously, they thought he was talking about the physical temple. But when you go on to read, you'll see that his disciples realized after he had risen from the dead that that was in direct reference to him and his physical body rather than the physical and literal temple. And so he spoke about many of these things in a parable format, which is why they didn't understand. But when he was ready to reveal it to them, they got the understanding that for 3 days and 3 nights he was in the grave and did rise on the third day. So we can clearly see that Messiah is able to conceal things from those it needs to be concealed from and reveal it to those who it needs to be revealed to, the babes, the children of the Most High. So let's look at some things that happened when Messiah first revealed in plain language that he would be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. From that time forth began Yahusha to show his disciples how that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and the chief priests and the scribes, and be killed and be raised again on the third day. Then Kepha, or Peter, took him and began to rebuke him, saying, "Be it far from thee, Master, these things shall not be unto thee." But he, being Messiah, turned and said to Kepha, "Get thee behind me, Hasatan. Thou art an offense to me, for thou savorest not the things that be of the Most High, but those that be of men." You find these scriptures in Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through to 23. So this was the first time, after some dropping some hint and speaking some figurative language previously, this was the first time Messiah openly spoke to his disciples about being in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. He told them that he was going to go to Jerusalem, he was going to be rejected, and he was going to be put to death, and on the third day he would rise again. And you see the reaction of Peter, or Kepha, when he heard this. Because this was something foreign to him, he rejected it outright. He said, "No, Master, this will never come to pass. This will not be something for you." And you see Messiah's reaction, that he told him to get behind him, Hasatan, because he knew that Peter was talking about the things from men and not the things from the Most High. And so this is the same reaction we are getting today when we mention the things that are coming, starting off with the 3 days of darkness. People are saying, "No, these things will never be." And the answer that we will give will be the exact same, which is, "Get behind thee, Hasatan," because these things are all things that you are talking from a man's perspective. You are not mindful of the things of the Most High. The parallel is the same. Peter rejected the doctrine because it was something that sounded foreign to him, something he had never seen before in the Old Testament writings, and something that, quite frankly, he just could not see happening. How could his Messiah be put to death? Obviously, he didn't know the bigger picture. We have the benefit of having these writings now that are found in the renewed or the new covenant. So we have these benefits of seeing these things that happen. But Peter didn't have this. He didn't have these writings in the Old Testament available because they weren't in the Old Testament, and the New Testament obviously was not written at that point. So he rejected the doctrine on the basis of misunderstanding and not knowing that it was one that was of truth. And eventually, when all the things came to pass, he saw that this doctrine was obviously true because it was spoken by Messiah. So I want you to understand the parallels of the times of that day and the times we're in now. It is not that much different. that a generation that we are dealing with today are wicked and adulterous and evil. And so it was that the generation at that time were called the same. The generation of today reject many things that are being taught because they don't believe in them for their various reasons. And so it was at that time. Many people reject the things that Messiah taught and Messiah himself. The parallel is there. And Messiah dealt with those people in a certain way that the same thing is happening today. He's dealing with the mockers and the scoffers and the unbelieving and those who are rejecting prophecy in the same way. And let's see how he dealt with them in the past so we can understand how he's dealing with those in this present day. Then a certain of the scribes and Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. They wanted to see a sign. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Found in Matthew chapter 12, verses 38 through to 40. So we see the same language that we saw in Matthew 16, that a wicked and adulterous generation, in this case, an evil and adulterous generation, seeks after a sign. And he further expands and says, no sign will be given except for the prophet Jonah. And he tells them that as Jonah was in the whale's belly for 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And we know that that prophecy was fulfilled through his death, burial, and resurrection. So the same sign he gave that evil and adulterous generation then, he is going to give the same evil and adulterous generation in this age. The sign is going to be the same. What was the sign? The sign was of the prophet Jonah, or prophet Jonah, which we are going to see, that Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, and the Son of Man was in the heart of the earth. The prophecy for this day, that when we see in those times that Jonah was in the belly of the whale in darkness for 3 days and 3 nights, we see the parallel that Messiah was in the grave where he was buried for 3 days and 3 nights. And in this day, we are going to see that the body of Messiah, which is the believers, will be in their chambers, which is the house, whilst there is darkness on the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. It is a complete parallel. The sign will be the same. He doesn't need to tell you in open language verbatim that during the end times there's going to be 3 days of darkness. He doesn't need to do that. And the reason why he's not going to do that is because the generation that we are living in is wicked and adulterous. So why should he give you a sign or any different sign except the same sign he gave that same generation back then, the sign of the prophet Jonah? So let's understand that as Jonah was in the belly of the big fish or the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Prophecy fulfilled. He was in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights and rose again, sitting on the right hand of the Father, watching us now go through the same thing. That as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so will the body, which is the believers, those connected to Messiah, the body of the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in their chambers, in their houses, in their places of abode, their places of safety on this earth. It is going to happen. So I am doing this very short teaching because the Most High has inspired me and encouraged me to show more mercy rather than say, well, if you don't believe it, good luck to you. He's told me to have more mercy as he has mercy, and have more patience as he has patience, and to give another perspective. Maybe there will be people that will hear this and then say, oh, I didn't see that perspective. Maybe this doctrine is true. Maybe I should study it more. Maybe I should take it to the Most High more rather than openly reject it. He's given me that task to take this on and to do a very short teaching. But there are so many that I've done talking about the 3 days of darkness and explaining that it is not a Catholic doctrine, though they may have put it in their Bible and remixed it. But these are things that are from the scriptures, and the Most High, through the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, reveals it to those who have a relationship with him. He doesn't need to say everything openly, because this is designed to take people by surprise and to catch them unawares. See Luke chapter 21, verses 34 to 35, which will tell you that as a snare, it shall come upon all those that dwell upon the face of the earth, as a trap, suddenly, whilst people are caught up in the cares of life, meaning that life is going on as normal. And this is the thing that we have to understand, that not everything has to be said openly, because the Ruach HaKodesh reveals things to the believers, to the people that have a relationship with the Most High. And so I really want you to take some time out if you have not had the full revelation of this doctrine, because these things are fastly approaching. And like I said, if it was down to me, I'd be done with it. I'd have no more to say on the matter, and I'd leave it there and say, I've done my bit. If people don't want to hear it, then that's between them and the Most High. But no, the Most High has more mercy than me, and he's spoken to me and said, come back and tell them again about the 3 days of darkness. Tell them from a different perspective, that the same sign I gave back then to those wicked and adulterous generation is the same sign I will give to this generation. And if they don't believe in that, then leave them to me. Because when the darkness comes, it will be too late to start searching for your faith and start finding the things you need to find to make peace with the Most High. It will be too late. Do it whilst you have time. There is not much time left. The darkness is a true doctrine, and it is something that is going to happen within the space of weeks. We are talking about weeks. We're not talking about months anymore or years. We are talking about weeks. We are in weeks territory. You can turn weeks into days, and then days doesn't seem like a long time. There's not much time to go. So the modern day sign of Jonah is the 3 days of darkness. And if you still haven't got it, I would encourage you, I would beseech you to go to the Most High if you are a true believer and search him out, because this thing is not going to come with a warning. It's not going to come with something that gives you time to prepare, unless you are in the Most High and he is merciful enough to reveal it to you so that you can understand and prepare yourself spiritually and physically. There are many teachings on the channel in more depth that show the parallels of the past as to how this doctrine is true and how it exists and how it is going to happen. And so I would encourage you to search those out, watch them, take them to the Most High so you can understand the doctrine. And if he's given you the understanding already, then hallelujah, all praises to him. And may he continue to prepare you spiritually and physically for not only the darkness, but the things to come thereafter that. And for those who are mockers and scoffers, and for those who are just unbelieving, then woe betide you, because the Most High has given the last warning through me with regards to the doctrine and teaching on it. And if you want to mock it and scoff it and make all your comments and say all your things that you want to say, then the Most High sees it all. And when the time comes, you will have to answer to him. And woe betide you for that. To all those that are his, may Yah bless you and keep you.